what's going on YouTube? It's me, Jeffrey, again, and today we're doing another review, and this is something that I've wanted to do a review of for a long time. It is the one and only SpongeBob SquarePants Ultimate Action Figure Ultimates by Super7. That's right. This is something that I've been wanting. I got it for Christmas. So, ages 14 and older. It's all the details like Viacom, Nickelodeon, and it's got a little signature by Steven Hillenburg, who sadly has passed away a few years ago. So this is a special one. This is also a special collectible, meaning, well, it can be used for photography and stop motions. It's not really recommended for people under 13 because of all the parts. So let's slowly reveal it. Dun, 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 dun. Just like that, it slides up just like that to reveal the figurine. So before we get to that, the box here, the cover, it's just SpongeBob's face and the name SpongeBob SquarePants of the show. I'm gonna keep this box in case if I ever want to repackage it. So you can see there's a whole bunch of stuff that you can see in there, like SpongeBob, some hands, a jellyfish, the net, even Gary's there. I was expecting this to be a little bit smaller, but knowing that this is the Super 7, this is probably like a definitive SpongeBob figurine. See, it's got all the nice, tropical backgrounds, seeing like some of the time cards. And on the back, it shows SpongeBob, and there's a little bio, which I shall say or read. SpongeBob SquarePants can usually be found grilling up Krabby Patties at the Krusty Krab, the finest eating establishment ever established for eating. When the world's most dedicated fry cook isn't at work, you will find him in his pineapple house with his pet snail Gary, or riding fishing hooks with his best friend Patrick. Other times you'll find him working alongside his sourpuss neighbor Squidward, or practicing karate with his squirrely friend Sandy. No matter what he's up to, SpongeBob's eternally sunny outlook is what makes the most ordinary days extraordinary. Wow. I like how it paid a little homage to an episode like Hooky, with the hooks. The hooks! The hooks! Yeah, that wasn't the best Mr. Krabs impression, but a whole bunch of stuff that you could talk about when it comes to SpongeBob. So yeah, I'm going to cut the camera, and we'll see what this guy looks like out of the box. Okay, so, yeah, here he is almost out of the box. I just wanted to show you some of the things that you could also see, like, there's the jellyfish, some hands, extra arms, like a bubble soap hand. There's also this hand that's blowing the bubble. All this stuff we'll talk about later, but overall, it looks pretty nice. So there's a whole bunch of cool stuff that this sponge comes along. I was worried about quality control because I've known there are some reviews where people were a bit nitpicky about SpongeBob's, like, this SpongeBob here is like his, the quality of the character itself. So yeah, I'm gonna get all this out of this side of packaging. I mean, yes, I'll repackage all this after the review, so because that packaging is really easy to open, surprisingly. So, yeah. Okay, so taking them out of the packaging was pretty simple. And surprisingly, the package is easy to open, nothing too serious to worry about if you ever want to repackage them and all this stuff, but yeah, people were complaining about, the quality, but when I first am feeling this, like, he's made of vinyl, but he feels pretty good. Like, yeah, it's like, this one seems a little bit like he's got like a matte feeling, like a matte vinyl feeling. So looking at the SpongeBob itself, like he's got that smile. I think the smile is like sculpted a bit better than the Bendy Figs one, and he has slightly more sculpted eyelashes. The irises and the pupils are painted on with eyes, unlike the Bendy Figs, which kind of had a bit of some depth to it. This kind of also goes for a little bit of the dimples on his face, like on his cheeks. The holes are sculpted in a little bit, like little indentations for the holes, but they're darker yellow. I'm pretty sure the reason why I changed it to this darker yellow is because they represent more of the modern SpongeBob cartoons, but in the older, like, Season 1 to Season 3 SpongeBob show, or majority of the show, they looked slightly more greenish. But that's just me, talk about how the development went. So, he's got the tie and everything. He's got the belt. He's got all the hands and stuff. Like, he's got shoes. Yeah, like, he's got the socks. I'm not sure this like intentional to have the red or the blue on top, but still he's got the socks on. He's got the size. He's also got a little bit of trademark here, like 22 of Viacom, Super7 Man China, all that stuff. He's got little peg holes if there are any Super 7 stands for him to stand on. For display purposes, it'd be pretty something. Yeah, I'll get to the next piece we got here is his, this is his alternate head, and basically it's just him meant to look like if he's, like, let's say, blowing a bubble, like, for example, hence there's this arm with the old bubble wand in it, so, like, you peg it in here, for example, and it's not that hard, but something like that, and just like turn around or something like that, and he's blowing the bubble. And you can see how the engineering of how they make the head. This is the socket for the joint. It's part of the pants over there. So you can even see how they attach these little pegs for these joints in here and all that stuff. But then again, if you don't feel like having him blow bubbles but using this face, you can have it look like he's whistling, which, just doing, like, whistling a little tune that's popping up in his mind, like maybe the musical Doodles song or something like that. I don't know. So there's that. And of course, this is the bubble wand arm. It's basically a stretched out arm, and you can see how he holds it. Now, the thing I noticed, and I know a bunch of other people knows this, is that the bubble is like a clear casted plastic, but there's a little bit of the insert thing where the plastic meets the pink, and it's like, I think it's just for like the effect, but I don't know how it works on an action figure. I think it would be also pretty nice. I think Sonic and the Bean Show said that this would look pretty nice if they had like a little bit of blue or purple or a little bit of pink in the bubble to give it a little bubble soap look. So he's got the bubble blowing hand that holds the bottle of bubbles. He's got two pointing fingers he's got these two pointing fingers, and all the hands are swappable. He's got these finger gun pointing hands, but when I look at them, that's not always the case, because if you remember the SpongeBob episode called Something Smells, when, after SpongeBob had that, that rancid peanut sundae, whatever, is like, that made his breath stink and all that stuff, when he asked, like, Patrick why everyone was running away from him, but SpongeBob does this.
You gotta be kidding me.
He's like, you gotta be kidding me. Nice. So, now that out of the way, these are some alternate arms. They're like bent, and there's already hands in here, and they're meant to hold, like, let's say the jellyfish net. And yeah, these are jellyfish net holding things hands. That's why they're, cuffed and all that stuff. Or he could, like, use these arms like he's doing, like, the intro scene. Whereas, like, when he comes out of the pineapple and stuff. He's got his jellyfishing glasses. I've seen pictures where it shows him wearing these when he's blowing the bubble, but I don't think that's how it's meant to be. To me, I think the glasses are actually meant for him jellyfishing when he's catching jellyfish. Because that's what I remember seeing in the show. So, if you're wondering how you put these glasses on, it just simply like, you have to, like, slide on, like that, and, SpongeBob's got his glasses on, and, yeah, that's pretty easy. They also got the plastic screen on them, so it's like, that gives them some depth, because, lenses. He's even got his, jellyfish net. I think it's old reliable. So, looking at it, it's pretty nice how they actually gave it a realistic net. Which, this net also has a little jellyfish, so if you're, like, putting it in, you could just put the jellyfish in there, and SpongeBob's caught a jellyfish. So, that's pretty cool. So, now, here's Bubble Buddy, and it looks nice, but it's a little too clear. It's just like the bubble thing. It should have a little bit of color in the plastic, but judging that this is just meant for a collector's thing, it's just like bubbles are, technically clear, so, especially when in the water. So this kind of makes it more legitimate sense. Proportions of Bubble Buddy are a little bit awkward to SpongeBob. I think they fit slightly better to the Bendy Figs line. So, before we get more into articulation, how to swap the hands and stuff, here's Gary's food bowl. It's just, Gary's food bowl with snail food in it. Because, snails are... So, speaking of snails, here's Gary. Gary is a fully sculpted piece. The eyeballs are sculpted together, meaning you can't separate this or do his, like, iconic thing from Jellyfish Jam where he's, like, knocking his eyes to distract the jellyfish or getting back into the musical rhythm. It's like, his shell, all these spots and this little swirl on the shell are sculpted with depth, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, like, he's got that smile. He's, like, looking up a little bit because when it comes to proportions to SpongeBob, it looks pretty nice. Like SpongeBob with his little pet snail, Gary. Yeah, nothing on the underside. It's just flat. It's help him stand. Same thing on this side. If you were, like, to put Gary on that, you'd have to, like, let's say, Gary would stand up like that if he was, like, looking around. I mean, he could do this, but it's a little bit trickier to balance if you're doing poses. Like, let's say, something like that, right? It would be tricky to do that. Looking at the articulation for SpongeBob, he's, like, this guy's, like, neck, it's shaking, but it's not serious like some others did. I'm pretty sure I did that, but for articulation goes, it's pretty decent. Like, his elbows, like, the sleeve here, there's a shoulder hinge here. I don't know why I said elbows, but he doesn't have bent articulated elbows. Like, his shoulder articulation where his sleeve is, it can go at least up this high. Like, this is as high as it goes on mine, unless you're swiveling it. And it'll go a little bit higher. But it can also do, like, a 360, do that. The hands have the hinge joint and can also swivel, just like that. There's also a Wave 1 figure. This is part of Wave 1 of the Super 7 SpongeBob Ultimates because the other is Sandy. And Wave 2 has Patrick and Squidward. So it's the same thing on this arm, movement and stuff. You could swivel the hands like that or just swivel the arm. It's It's your choice. His legs, though, are a bit interesting because they can only kick out forward and go that back. And they can swivel, but there's nothing like no knee joint or a shoe joint. But he could still somehow sit. He can't do much head articulation because, he's square shaped, he's SpongeBob, but the way to switch out the heads is pretty interesting, which I'll show you. I'm just gonna like remove an arm. This is just if you're like doing the bubble blowing. Okay, so as I was demonstrating, like it's a little bit tricky to take the head off that one, but this is how the ball joint looks when it's moving, like hinged. This is how it hinges. Surprisingly, mine isn't the loosest one. So yeah, like you can see how like this is how the hinge works, and I'm gonna pop this head on here and give him his like details. It just you see how the ball joint, it goes in there just like that, right? And you could basically change the arms. I gotta do that. Put this arm back in. So sort of like, let's say this would work. And yeah, like see how it's like you could make him blow bubbles. Sort of like that. Like just like blowing bubbles. Boom. Now we got SpongeBob blowing bubbles. I'm gonna switch his arms out again, but keep this head on because this gives me an idea when went by whistling. Alright, so here he is. Like I swapped his arms out for the bent arms with the curved hands. Because this guy doesn't have fists like that are closed, so this is the closest thing I could do, but I could have him look like this is like his whistling while he's on his way to, like, let's say the, let's say if he's going to his job at the Krusty Krab, or, he's going to the Bargain Mart, something like that. But yeah, that's his whistling pose. To swap out the arms, like swapping out the arms, you just simply, like, if you're, like, switching like this, you just, my recommendation is you would do this. It's a little tricky because, it's hard to pop out. You can see how this is the socket that goes in there, and if you want to switch the hands to, like, let's say that, there's a little hinge. I'm going to leave these in here because I'll probably do those off-screen photographies. Switching his arms out. He now has bent arms in, and now I can do this. The old classic hands on his pants, like just like in the intro, just like in the classic SpongeBob intro. Now, if you're wondering how I put the net in, like you could do this with either hand, but to do it, you just simply give it a gentle tug. Like that, and see how it pops out like that. And then I just basically like put the hand on to the net. There we go. And put the hand back on SpongeBob. Alright, there we go. It pops just like that, back in place. And he's got his net ready to catch some jellyfish. Come to think of it, I actually also noticed that he's also missing a few of his accessories. Like, come to think of it, he's missing, like, a hand that would be compatible to hold a spatula. And he's also missing his Krusty Krab hat. And he also seems to be missing, yeah, he's missing his Krusty Krab hat. He's missing, like, the Krabby Patty, his spatula. But most of all, he's missing his karate gloves because Sandy's got them. Like the Super7 Sandy figurine has them, and Squidward has the hat as part of his accessory for one of his heads. So why doesn't SpongeBob have that? Come to think of it, I don't know why. But then again, I can understand because of the extra head. And yeah, like you can understand there's a whole bunch of choices you could do with this. Overall, I give this and its entire set solid 10. I don't know why, but it's like it's one of those things that gets a 10 out of 10 for its definitiveness, but if you're like doing proportion wise, like I don't have any other Super 7 Ultimates. It's a little bit different compared to Squidward. But when I said that this is bigger than the Bendy Figs, I wanted to do this to show you size. You could definitely see there's a slight difference, that this one is about an inch or so taller. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, guys, that's the Super 7 Ultimates SpongeBob SquarePants. Feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Jeffrey Sambursky, signing out.